Welcome to Hive Mind. This is Edge with my co-host Speaker. How you doing today, Speaker?
I'm good. How is everybody? I've missed you all, especially for our Dig It listeners. And over here, I have been away for a couple of weeks. So it is good to do uh, a recording again and a video again because it has been a while for me. It's weird readjusting again. So,
Here we are recovering from the holidays and jumping right into NASA, aliens, and priests.
well, it's an interesting one before the New Year's, isn't it? But it's aliens has always been a very fascinating topic for me. And I think this is something we've wanted to do for a while to throw it out there, and it's becoming more relevant, especially uh, when you start putting religion into it, which is what caught your attention. Edge and I have very differing opinions when it comes to this, because obviously she's religious, I am not, but we do come together and we do meet each other always in the middle on things, and we're always very accepting on each other's ideas and beliefs. So this one's going to be an interesting one. It's something I just learned about the other day, especially with the church really getting involved in this air quotes alien agenda. So
Yeah. But
yeah,
this is definitely not the first time the quote unquote church, has been involved in the alien agenda. I mean, I've been researching for so long, trying to wrap my head around ancient history, pre-flood history, secret societies, the information that they have withheld from us. Um, and the Vatican definitely, and the Jesuit Order are definitely a part of that story. So, but we're going to bring it fast forward all the way to today, where they are currently talking about NASA enlisting priests to assess how the world would react to alien life. And this came out, right around Christmas time, very interesting, especially with the launch of a new satellite to do just that. I believe it was on Christmas Day. So it's very interesting. Why would they be coming out with this now?
mm. And some of these articles that we have up here, going back 10, 11 years. So,
Right. So there is a very long history of these um, religious entities being very fascinated with alien life, and we're going to get into that. But I'm going to read this article a little bit and we can discuss. So the National Aeronautics and Space Administration is recruiting priests and theologians to assess how the world's major religions would react to the news of discovering extraterrestrial life and advise the agency on how to quell civil unrest upon the revelation. The agency has enlisted 24 religious experts to develop protocols for the discovery of alien life in its Center for Theological Inquiry program at Princeton University in New Jersey. And NASA actually provided CTI with $1.1 million grant to create the program devoted to researching the societal implications of astrobiology in 2015. We are in 2021, almost 2022. Why is this information coming out now if it was solicited back in 2015? That's an interesting question. So, are we nearing a time when the powers that be would like full disclosure to come out? I think that's a possibility. This is the Center for Theological Inquiry. To me, it looks like, okay, so they call themselves, it builds bridges of understanding by convening theologians, scientists, scholars, and policymakers to think together and inform the public on global concerns. What global concerns are those? Well, they obviously delve into, climate change, right? Probably, and I've kind of looked through some of these articles on their site, a lot of things on artificial intelligence and some on life elsewhere in the universe. So they talk about global issues from a theological perspective, but to me, it really seems very, very progressive in nature and a way of sort of driving the narrative from a religious perspective. What are your thoughts?
Um, yeah, it progressive is the way that I look at it. They're just trying to intertwine it, right? Abstract Christian theology.
Right. It just seems like a way of controlling religion. There's narrative control in all forms, and you have to have a religion, a way of driving the narrative for those who are religious as well. And it does seem to me like this Center for Theological Inquiry is sort of a think tank for driving religious perspectives in a very progressive sort of way. So they've enlisted people from this CTI to come up with their thoughts on how religions in general would embrace or reject the revelation of alien life. And why are they doing this now? Well, I have some thoughts on that, and I wanted to kind of get your perspective. Um, Number one, to me, it's very clear that their narrative, which they're using as the main driver of fear, is falling apart. You know, the whole the pandemic and everything. It seems like it's losing steam. They're losing control of the narrative. They're having a hard time and a lot of trouble herding the masses into compliance with their ultimate goal. And so they need a new narrative and a new way to generate fear and to drive the masses in a certain direction. And I was thinking about it, and I see that there are really three main narratives or false flags, however you want to look at it, that they're prepping. And it looks to be like they're sort of like a next phase of their plan, so to speak. Tell me your thoughts. So I see this as number one, climate change, number two, world war, and number three, dun dun dun, aliens. So, I mean, with climate change, I mean, that's pretty obvious. We see them already prepping that. They just had the COP26 and a lot of pushing for policy to, again, control and surveil the masses, but under the guise of climate change. And they're going to be exploiting all kinds of natural disasters in order to promote that plan of surveillance and full control. Like, for example, and we've talked about this, when Al Gore came out of the COP26, he admitted that there's already a surveillance system, satellite system in place with infrared and everything, where they can globally monitor everyone from individuals to corporations for their emissions. And then they're just going to hand that over to governments.
And then charge you appropriately.
Right. So they're going to hand that over to governments, and then governments can, fine you, tax you, penalize you, restrict you based off of your emissions. It's just another way of controlling. So again, I see the emergence of the new narrative as a way of them achieving their end goal of global dominance by using climate change. But the second one is world war. And I want to ask you your thoughts on this, because we can see in several parts of the world, there's preparations being made for war, and tensions are high. I mean, for example, we had Afghanistan with the withdrawal debacle, and we armed the Taliban with billions of dollars worth of equipment. What are they going to do with that? We see things popping off in Iran and Israel. Those tensions continue to be high. We see Russia and Ukraine. Of course, Biden was just meeting with Putin recently. And, Biden seems totally feckless, two-faced in the way this regime is dealing with foreign policy with regards to Russia and Ukraine. And the same thing with China and Taiwan. Of course, the Biden regime has been totally weak on China for obvious reasons, because he's their puppet who is the resident of the White House. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, China is the one I'm worried about the most. War is it's hard for me to say this in the way that I want to say it, but I think some form of war is inevitable, and it's so already technically taking place. Whether it's a digital war, whether it's trade wars, these things being implemented slowly. And we see that with China, even with their relationship with Australia. I mean, they haven't talked to our government in like 2 years, 3 years. They won't take their course. So I do think China has planned for a long time to start making a next move, and I think Corona was the first step towards that in a biological weapon sense. Um,
Yes, I mean, I would
and
agree. We are currently at war, bio warfare, psychological warfare primarily.
that's the massive one, and that war has really been going on for 20, 30 years. That we can see now. The psychological war is what they need to get people in line. I mean, that's getting people to be subservient to what they say and what they do, and to not just abide by their rules, but bring down anyone else that doesn't.
Right, right. And so the question is it going to get kinetic, physical warfare? And I think that that is one of their cards they may intend to play as this narrative on the psychological warfare side and on the biological warfare side is losing steam and losing legitimacy. So I think war could pop off in any one of these regions at any point, but it's my belief that this would all be coordinated by design with the outcome already predetermined, right? All for the purpose of driving this global population towards the ultimate goal of a one world totalitarian governance of the entire population. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that. Aliens, I think, is the big one. I think that's where we've got to get back on here.
Yes.
But I think that one's a very hard one to implement if that's the road they're going to go down.
Yeah, it seems like the last
Incredibly hard.
card. Yeah. So that's the third scenario, which would help them achieve their goal of global dominance. And that's when we're going to dive in today, aliens. So one way to instill fear in the population and cause the entire world to unite under one global government would be the disclosure of alien life. Whether it's perceived as a threat or as a savior remains to be seen, but it's clear that they're prepping the public for disclosure. And this, I believe, would be a controlled form of disclosure, which is done to achieve a specific outcome, in my opinion, not a full disclosure by any means. What do you think?
Um, Soft disclosures are interesting. For example, I am part of another Discord group, and there was about 10 of us in there, and we're talking about something totally unrelated to that. But one of my friends brought up something about entertainment, and then after that, she went, "Oh, the government pretty much said there's alien life, but no one cares about that," and then went back to entertainment. So it's one of those fickle things, where how mentally constrained are these people, where news like that is not interesting to them, or it's not. They've seen the theories a million times, or they've totally disregarded it. What is it going to take? Is it going to take an alien ship landing on the planet for people to actually be aware of it? It's a weird psychological game going on here, and I feel like a lot of people have brushed aliens under the rug because of the push of it for so long. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like the public has been prepped for a very long time, but they've kicked it into another gear since the Biden regime has taken office. And, the Pentagon released a UFO report. This was finally released in
This is
June.
what she was talking about. Yeah, this is what she was talking about, like specifically on that topic. Hmm.
Right. So they're disclosing here what they want us to know about their UFO files. Again, I have to approach this with a huge amount of skepticism because this is the Pentagon under the Biden regime. It's full on deep state disclosure. And so, why is this being disclosed now? To me, it seems in a preparation for a narrative that will be useful to them to control the population in the future. It
Hmm.
by no means to me seems to be a full-on disclosure of what they know. It's just, again, desensitizing and prepping the public for what they want us to know. And again, the Pentagon or the DoD created a new group to monitor and mitigate threats from UFOs due to national security risk. So, again, this seems like they're prepping the public for some kind of um, narrative that they need for the future in order to control the public. What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm. No, I agree with that. Uh, I guess to a degree, but like I said before, I think there's a lot of people not paying attention.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
So, but all of this coming out now under the Biden regime, why? I mean, you have to think in terms again of the ultimate goal. We're currently at war, like we just mentioned, biological warfare, but primarily psychological warfare. And I think it's meant to radically change the global power structure into a one world totalitarian government under this Great Reset thing, where the people are completely controlled. So, how do you break down national sovereignty? How do you bring the entire world together under a giant psyop? The pandemic was, part one of that plan, but I think aliens might be another phase of that plan. Do you think?
I think it's a possibility. Yeah, sure.
And it's interesting that they are bringing um, religions, bringing
Hmm.
priests and religious leaders in to assess how mankind would receive this information. Of course, the Vatican, they've been interested in the pursuit of alien life forever, particularly the Jesuit order. And, these are the leaders of all the secret societies, and they've kept hidden the truths about, our own planet and the inhabitants of our own planet prior to the Great Flood, which we both have some thoughts on that, I'm sure. And we'll
Yeah.
have to reserve for another podcast because that is like another, 2 hour conversation. But definitely the secret societies have withheld a lot of information on ancient history. And I definitely think that that plays into their very, very focused interest
And
on finding alien life.
and that is a place where we can come to a mutual understanding on is that I do think these extraterrestrials, these aliens, whatever you want to call them, um, did play a big part in history. It's hard kind of seeing them not to with certain things, um, certain architecture, certain theories or intelligence. It's very strange to see older civilizations be able to achieve things that they achieved. Um,
Right. And then
yeah.
you look at the elongated skulls that have been uncovered, or the just the technological advances of the Egyptian pyramids and their alignments with the stars at certain times on the calendar, just the vast knowledge that they have. There's so much information that we do know that leads us to believe they were highly, highly intelligent ancient civilizations. And I'm thinking specifically of the Egyptians, but of course, even prior to that. And yeah, there's a lot of questions about that. And of course, I look at it from a biblical perspective of the fallen angels inhabiting the earth and populating the earth by taking human women and the Nephilim. And I look at it from that biblical perspective, but I understand those who do not hold that biblical perspective to consider it to be a non-human life form inhabiting the planet. And I think that we can agree somewhat on that. What do you think?
Um, yeah, well,
The possibility, at least.
the possibility at least. But just in different ways. But I think we come to the basis of us to be, sort of aligned with it, just different ways of getting there. So
right. So, but definitely the Vatican and the Jesuit order are obsessed with the search of alien life. And this goes back for many years. The Vatican itself has a telescope in Italy, and then also a telescope in Arizona. And they've had this for years. So Vatican astronomers, which are Jesuits, are searching for alien life. This book was put out years ago, Exo Vaticana, Priestus Romanus, Project Lucifer, and the Vatican's astonishing plan for the arrival of an alien savior are the result of research of two authors conducted at the Mount Graham International Observatory. That's the observatory that is currently in Arizona. And the Vatican has part ownership of this observatory with their own telescope, but they share also the usage of another telescope, which has been named appropriately Lucifer. And so these authors wrote about their research and their search for alien life using their telescopes, but also dug up some Vatican documents as part of their research, and claim that private Vatican documents, which reveal much of the thinking of high-level theologians and astronomers within the church, these documents show that they believe they are soon to be visited by an alien savior from another world. Okay, so this is the claims made in this book, but they claim to have Vatican documents and are also citing this very focused interest by the Vatican, by the Jesuits, to find alien life using these telescopes, one of which is named Lucifer.
It sort of seems like to me that they're trying to once again bastardize religion. Like I said, it's not something that I follow personally, but it's like they're trying to corrupt it in every way, shape, or form, or add things to it that really doesn't seem to belong there, or something that wasn't preached. I mean, we've seen them do that with things like open borders or gay marriage, for example. Things like that is just as an example. It just sounds to me that it's another way of diluting it.
Right, and prepping the public for something to come. And this story came out again years ago, 2014. Pope Francis, who himself is a Jesuit, said he would baptize aliens if they came to the Vatican, saying, "Who are we to close doors?" And he went on to explain that if, say, a little green Martian, like the children's drawings, asked to be baptized, who are we to say no? Which is quite interesting. And then another Vatican astronomer, also a Jesuit, has said much the same thing. And he said that any entity, no matter how many tentacles it has a soul. Would he be baptized an alien? Yes, only if they asked, is what he responded. So this gets into some really murky waters that I want to kind of break down a little bit. What if the alien wasn't a cute little green Martian like the Pope described? What if it was a small gray or a tall white or a reptilian? Would they baptize that? What if it was a beautiful angelic like entity, like say Lucifer? What if it was artificial intelligence or a clone? Does it have a soul? That's the question.
This is the article I was most interested in because there's definitely something else to this, and it's wrong. It smells wrong on every aspect, you know.
It sounds like they're prepping us for something. And the Vaticans and Jesuits have been embracing this alien, you know, agenda. And it appears to be a setup for this great deception for humans. And this is my opinion, for humans to embrace a non-human entity and accept this entity as their world leader. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's a very far-fetched possibility, but I don't put anything past these people and their long game.
Well, I'm thinking about their long game, and their long game is through the pandemic with the passports and the digital identities and the QR codes and all of that. That leading into a sort of global control of the population. And what if there was an artificial intelligence that sort of oversaw all of that?
An artificial intelligence, a clone, a computer, maybe?
Right.
That I can get behind and back. Sure.
That's why I'm expanding this, not to just alien life, but what about other entities, artificial intelligence, anything non-human? It seems to be an embrace of the non-human in preparation for an acceptance like something like this. And I want to just play something which I thought was really interesting. I just happened to be listening to this the other day, and it's an old recording of Father Malachi Martin on the Art Bell radio show. And this was years ago, 96. So Dr. Malachi Martin, we've actually talked about him many podcasts in the past when we were discussing the Vatican itself and the Pope and the Jesuits. A lot of
those podcasts are getting taken down now for strikes. So
was that one taken down? I hope not.
I'm not sure, but it's a huge possibility. We get screwed on everything.
All right, so I just happened to catch this, and what he said was so incredibly relevant to what is happening today that I was like, gosh, we have to play this. But I want to give a little bit of background on Malachi Martin. He's a former Jesuit. He was an exorcist. He left the Jesuit order. He did help expose the rampant satanic pedophilia in America. And in fact, his friend, Priest Kuntz, was murdered for exposing the satanic pedophile ring among priests in America. And a year after that is when Malachi died under very mysterious circumstances. He was knocked off of a stool and sustained a brain injury, which killed him. So, but he gave many really interesting interviews with Art Bell, and he knew a lot about the inner workings of the Jesuit order and the Vatican. And in this particular clip, he's talking about the emergence of the Antichrist because that's what Art Bell asked him about. But I just want you to listen to this and tell me how eerily familiar this sounds and how relevant it is to what's currently happening today. So I just got to switch over the audio 1 sec.
Is there now, or is there going to be, an Antichrist?
Whether there is now is a question. There is going to be an Antichrist, and I think the best thing we can do is talk about his public appearance.
All right.
Because he may already be in existence. For me to say he is in existence would immediately provoke the questions, where is he and what is he doing?
Yes.
And I want to avoid that.
Yes.
But he will be manifest publicly within a reasonable amount of time. Most people who are 20-something or 30-something will come across Antichrist in their life. I'm 76. I may not.
How will we know him?
We will know him by two main qualities. First of all, he will arrive at a time when we as a race have what looks like insuperable problems. Supposing we discover we have really insuperable environmental problems.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Supposing we find we have insuperable health problems, a disease,
yes,
wasting nation after nation. That's the first thing. He will have solutions for those problems. He will have wise solutions that are real solutions. And number two, the result of his intervention and the results of his solutions will be such that people will say, you must be God. And he will accept that attribute.
He will accept that.
Yes, he will accept that. Those are the three marks of the Antichrist.
Well, you've already done it to me. You're already giving me chills.
So tell me how eerily familiar that sounds. I mean, the fact that he predicted that, in 96, specifically the climate crisis and a disease that takes over the whole world, where the world is looking for an answer, and this entity is going to appear to be the answer. And so it seems to me like this whole alien agenda may play into that, may be used as a psyop to deceive people into thinking some entity has the answer to these crises that have been planned and playing out. What do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's very interesting that the prediction of it in itself. Yeah, it's eerie. Like you said, it's eerie that not that. But no, I agree.
So how do you think this is going to play out? To me, I think that this alien deception is their last card to play. I think that they have many other cards they want to play first before this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the by far the last one and the most absurd one they could pull. But I don't disagree that it is on the list.
Yeah, I think it's on the list. I wouldn't put it their first priority, but you can tell they're already obviously putting feelers out for it and laying the groundwork, the foundation for their future plans. And so I'm just definitely watching this among many other things on the global theater, because that's all it is. It's a theater. We are watching, psyops on a global scale and in many different forms, but all really kind of with one underlying agenda to drive the masses in a certain direction. So I don't think it's like, this is all going to play out within the next day, the next weeks, the next months, even the next year or so. But I do definitely think it's part of their future plans
Yeah,
that we
no,
need to be aware of.
I can agree 100%. Especially as a non-entity, like you said, it covers a lot, right? Clones would probably be my best bet that they could probably pull off. An artificial intelligent clone that looked human, that would probably be my best. But
yeah, I think that's a
agreement.
possibility. I mean, as crazy as all of this sounds, you have to look back at the past 2 years and say, you know what? I wouldn't put anything past these people.
Oh no.
I mean,
shit's getting crazier by the day. So
exactly. So just buckle up.
Interesting to talk about this.
Yes, very interesting. But I just definitely want to give people a heads up to not be to not fall for their deception, to not be duped, as many people have been duped over the past couple of years, of their previous and current deceptions. So there are many more to come, and we just need to stay vigilant, stay grounded, have those critical thinking skills. And I think 2022 will be an interesting year, to say the least.
Just roll your eyes whenever they try it.
Yes.
You all should know better by now that they're playing, but
all right, guys, I think that wraps it up for this week's podcast on Hive Mind. Please be sure to share this podcast. We're on YouTube, BitChute, Pilled, and Foxhole. And we'll see you back next time right here on Hive Mind.
And have a beautiful New Year's. And
Happy
hopefully
New
next
Year.
year we can get a few more out for you. It's been a tough couple of months for us, but things are starting to get better now. So it's a good time. And
All right.
I hope you all have a good New Year's start to the next year. I hope it's great for all of you, and we'll see you back soon.
See ya.